Hi, welcome to the Augmentation of Man with Kent and Renee Miller, where we are bringing the future. And today,
we're going to talk about Earth changes and rebalancing and this new storm that had just come through the United States and covered 2/3 of the United States in snow.
And so deep down, I think we were suspect that there was something else going on here. The deep cold or the frigid cold in the deep south and all the other issues that came with it. But
all the way from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico.
Actually down into Mexico.
Into Mexico itself.
Yeah. And so there actually was a reason for it. And what we're going to do is bring you a PowerPoint that covers some of the reading, some of the lessons that we got while Kent was in deep meditation.
Some of the predictions also that we got early on.
And so we'll cover that and the dates and try to give our perspective on the interpretation. And you can, it's in its original form, so you can decide for yourself if that means the same thing to you. Yes. So I am going to share this screen. And so
as we know, the Earth is beginning to cleanse itself and to rebalance. And we have to understand this.
Yeah, so we have to understand the changes and our part in it.
The native people have been saying this for years, that we are close to having things happen here on Earth that we, as people from Europe or white people, and not the native people, we, as other people other than native, do not understand why this is happening. So December 29, 2007, in meditation, I see thousands of people were dying. The rich will be laughing and getting richer. The poor will be dying from all over the world. And I see Mexicans, Africans, and many more. I see different races here on Earth. The weather is bad. They are all dying. The rich are laughing and saying the world is ours, which is happening now at the beginning. It began earlier in 2000, year 2014, 15, but it is really showing itself now.
I think when we start to do our homework and do the deep dive, we have to look at what is going on in our world and where the money is going. So when we start to talk about people and the weather patterns, we also have to wonder, where is the money going that is being generated by the people who were suffering?
Yeah. What happened to the rich that they want more and more? What happened to sharing throughout the world, sharing what you have? What happened to that concept of respect for one another?
So as we go through these trials, we do need to think about how we can pull together and unite as one people, no matter what our backgrounds are.
October 13th, 2009, when they asked the question, can you explain the impact of negative energy on the atmosphere?
This was generated by something that came through the meditation where they talked about negative energy and its impact on the atmosphere. And so my first thought was, like most people, you go into this negative attitude and negative thoughts, but it's not that. It is about energy in general, and it's about the electrons. So we're talking about physics here, and that is the negative energy causes the electrons to go in a different movement in the opposite direction. So
yeah, we're talking about disturbances in our atmosphere,
Mhm.
and we're talking about changing the weather. We know that governments around the world have been attempting to change the weather to control the weather. And yet
Yeah.
native people have been praying that the spirits control the weather. So they're working in opposites of each other.
trying to counterbalance.
Yes.
So this impact of negative energy changes the structure of the electromagnetic field, causing dispersion of the field balance in high density negative energy areas, allowing the subatomic atmospheric disturbances to enter and penetrate the magnetic field within the ionosphere. And those disturbances in the create disturbances in the atmospheric pressure. And they're telling us, our guides are telling us that this is what is changing our weather. So when we talk about those negative things, the negative vibrations that affect weather, what is that?
Yeah, and your question, what are the weather changes as a result of negative vibration? What causes negative vibration? And we're talking about repression, again, repression of all the Earth's factors, the plant, the living planet the Earth is.
Mm-hmm. And so they also talk about noise, the vibration of noise. So there were some studies done. You can look this up on the internet. We have it quoted in the book, The Acquiescence of Humanity. I believe it's in that one. It's available on Amazon. And so what they were saying is all the noise, the sum totality of noise that we're generating on Earth has an impact on the electrons, and it causes the electron balance to change directional flow. And so that is causing the ionosphere to change. And that is where our weather patterns begin, is in the ionosphere. And so our level of noise is directly impacting our weather.
Stop and think about how much noise is outside of your home or your workplace. How much noise is going on from the different factors that we have here on Earth.
And so they're also saying that everything that we're doing to repress the Earth, which is a living planet, is also causing a negative vibration.
So May 16th, 2013 meditation. Are the dramatic weather changes purely a result of human negativity, or is there another reason?
So I was trying to expand on this negative vibration. Is there another reason besides negative vibration? And what the answer was, I'm going to read it and then we'll go into it a little bit to explain it. The answer was cycle creation to balance the unbalanced causes of the human nature. Cycle eclipse of self-motivation determined through human behavior, association prerogative given to those that perceive a new understanding upon self. So we don't generally think in this type of terms and language, but I believe what it is saying is that these dramatic weather changes are the result of our human behavior, how we're interacting with Earth, what we're doing to the Earth. And we're given the prerogative of seeing the connection between these big weather events and what we're doing. So for example, when we use technology that shoots radio waves up into the ionosphere, and then we have these massive weather events, can we draw the connection there between our activity and the weather event so that we can learn from it and change our
Yeah,
behavior.
there's more activity than what she just said that may cause these weather events to take place and causing more severe weather events to occur. So,
And everything gets out of balance, and there comes a point in time where you tip the balance and Earth reacts, and nature is protecting itself. So Earth will be protecting herself and seeking to regain balance, but we happen to be kind of in the way when that happens.
Yeah, so October the 7th, 2017, the weather will cause distrain. Oh, will cause distrain upon man. That's an unusual word, distrain.
Yeah, terrible strain upon man.
A circular event will happen.
So to me, this circular event might mean that it is a repeating event,
yes.
that it just keeps coming back around. It doesn't end. It's kind of in perpetuity until the changes happen to reinstate balance, and then that's when things settle down.
That means things are going to get worse before they get better. So September the 18th, 2019.
So we go back to noise.
Yeah, go back to noise. The noise increases the electron balance. Does it cause an increase in acidity?
So I was at that time still trying to understand this. I hadn't come to the conclusion that when you offset the electron balance and you change the electron balance, and this negative energy is actually a directional flow. Yes, I was still in that formative phase of trying to understand and wrap my head around what this meant. Do we have a lot of electrons in the atmosphere and we've got acid rain coming down, or is it something else?
Like all humans, you have to do your own research. And therefore you will discover the truth, what I had said earlier, but you have to discover it on your own. It's like listening to your neighbor tell you something about something going on in your backyard. You won't believe him until you actually investigate it and find out for yourself, and then you believe it. So humans are like that. So a circular event will happen going back to October, over and over and over, and it's going to increase in magnitude, and it's going to cause more disdain upon
terrible strain.
Humanity.
Yes. So the next reading that we had on weather was September 18th, 2019. So we jumped forward a couple of years.
We talked about that.
The answer to the noise question was it changes the weather. It's an atmospheric change. Okay.
So, January the 30th, 2020. That's a big jump.
So that was only like a little more than a year ago.
Complete weather change now. Natural changes. And have we seen weather changes? Boy, have we.
And so this is going to be worldwide. And they're telling us a year ago, okay, this is what is the energy is manifesting now. And heads up. Of course, we tend to forget, and so now we're here and we're having this massive frigid cold throughout the United States, or most of the United States, and then that brings us back to asking about it again. So now, this here,
does that mean the Sahara Desert will bloom again?
Yeah, evidently, there's going to be lots of change, rain pattern changes, etc.
Humanity's impact on the earth.
So this was not a meditation. This was actually taken from meditations, and it gives a little bit broader understanding, because we hear so much about coal and about carbon emissions. And we want to give people a bird's eye view of this issue. So let's open up the parameters and the perspective here. And And so I've put it in my own words, though.
Yeah, so you
and
can understand
so,
it.
in addition to rebalancing and transforming, the earth is also going through a cleansing period. And that's what we're entering now. What our part in this is that we have mined her vital energy, which is the uranium. It is the energy base for the earth, and gold and silver that have given the structural integrity to the crust of the earth, or her skin. The rare iridium that comes in on meteorites, it's not natural to the earth. It has come here from outside the earth, is what we're being told, forming these anchor points for the electromagnetic field. And so the iridium is an important structural aspect to the electromagnetic field. It does have a weak electromagnetic response. And so we've depleted that, and that is destabilizing in part the electromagnetic field.
Yeah.
Our generation of noise and high power radio frequency transmitters have altered the ionosphere, changing the weather patterns. We have polluted her lands and her water with chemicals of every kind, from pharmaceuticals to plastics, and from all those chemicals that we use in our attempt to exert our total control over nature. You see, carbon is the least of our problems, and we've said this before, and we don't mean to be glib about the climate change, but we're seeing it from a broader perspective. It's not just about carbon. All the focus is on carbon. There are things that we have done to the earth that are far worse and require such drastic correction that we are hoping to share that with people so that you can see that broader picture.
So you have to move from looking at the tree in front of the forest and seeing only carbon. You don't see what's going on in the whole forest. You're looking at one tree.
And the thing is that humanity really hasn't come to understand the full ramifications of all these things. And most of it has to do with our mining of the minerals in the earth, which
is a lot more disastrous than the carbon footprint they're talking about.
When you talk about upsetting the electromagnetic field, when you're talking about depleting the vital energy of the earth, you're talking about massive correctional changes that have to occur in order to reinstate that balance. And so there's a lot more here going on than carbon.
Yeah. So just recently, February the 14th, 2021, is there another unknown to humanity reason why we are having such pervasive cold?
So this was just last week.
Yeah.
We were asking about this, knowing that deep down we felt like there's something else going on here. And so what they said was, this is worldwide, the change is beginning. Normal, it will be given the crescendo. So I'm taking that to translate that as meaning this is our new normal. Mm-hmm. And it is going to continue to rise to a crescendo, to keep getting bigger and bigger and greater as far as these weather events.
Yeah, and they say adverse effects will continue. Well, adverse effects is determined by the human population. Oh, that's adverse to my humanity.
It depends on our perception.
That's right, based on perception. So does this relate to the changing axis?
And so the answer to that was part of much more. And the reason why I asked that is that we were told that the axis would eventually change to be, instead of at a 22-degree angle, that the poles would be at almost zero.
It'd be close to zero.
And so instead of, that's going to correct the wobble. So if your axis is at 22 degrees and you go through precession, you know, you've got this wobble with the axis. If the axis changes to nearly zero, we're going to rebalance and have no wobble, and it's just going to be a spin.
Is that your parade wave? No. Yeah. What are the other reasons?
And so the answer was perpetuitous.
Perpetuitous, a cosmic influence of glacial level.
Galactical
level.
Their words can be
Get a little
tongue
closer where you
twisters.
can read, Kent.
So perpetuitous comes from perpetuity.
Yes.
And so that means in perpetually. It's continuing
So,
perpetually. It's not ending.
yeah, so a cosmic influence will influence our galaxy.
Our galaxy.
Yeah, our galaxy at its own level.
And then the galaxy is influencing Earth. So this all these changes to bring balance are not just about the Earth. This is galactic. This is universal.
Yeah, and this is what we're talking about. All the planets in our galactic system is experiencing some type of change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Saturn lost a couple of stripes.
One ring, yeah.
Rings.
But it's affecting all the planets to some degree.
Yeah, and even our spin is beginning to increase, which we mentioned last time.
Right.
So
what does this understand about this time period?
They told us to be calm. And so what we need to do is stop trying to control everything. And we need to realize these changes have to be made to push back on humanity's activity so that we can understand the ramifications of our actions, and we can pull back on our activity and start to interact with Earth in a Earth-friendly way.
The native people have been saying this for years, that we have to change our ways in the way we see this Earth. This Earth is Earth Mother. It gives us everything we need to survive.
And if we trample all over her, then we are creating the conditions for our own demise.
Yeah. So this movement is now beginning. Consequential adverse effects will happen. So we have to understand this. We have to grasp this idea and prepare to accept the world as it is given to us, now that we pretty much almost ruined it.
And so they're telling us the nomenclature has changed. And my interpretation of that is that when you're talking about change, like subatomic change, vibrational change, the nomenclature is going to be a mathematical sequence that relates to the vibration that's coming in, bringing change to that subatomic structure, which is going to change how matter behaves, how it expresses itself. And it's going to change us spiritually, but it's also going to change our physical bodies as well.
This is called a perplexing situation. Ignatius function. The gregarious nature of the incident will begin.
Purgorious.
The purgorious nature of the incident will begin. This language that they bring through in meditation is different than our language that we understand. So it takes us a lot of research to find out what they mean. Purgorious is the true nature of the events that take place. And the question was, what does purgorious mean? How do we know that is relating to what they're talking about?
And so this requires a lot of homework. Kent is the channeler. I am the scribe. So I go to a Greek and Latin root word dictionary, and I have to go through in my mind. Usually it's with the vowels. What are all the possible ways that we can spell this word that sounds this way? And so you start with like purgorious, looking for purg. Is it P-E-R? Is it P-I-R-G? Is it P-U-R-G? And then if finding the definition that correlates to the rest of the sentence, and then you find that, oh yes, this fits perfectly. So when we go to this, the organization is on hold, so it's no longer organized. It's going to be chaotic, perplexing situation for humanity because we just don't get it.
Right.
Ignacious function, IGN, is the equivalent of fire. So it's a fiery function. Purgorious nature, purg, P-U-R-G, means a cleansing. So there's a cleansing nature of the incident to begin. And this purgorious, the cleansing, is the true nature of the events to take place. So they're giving us the heads up. Hey, this earth has a cleansing period that is going to be starting now.
Going to be taking place, yeah. And so we have to prepare ourselves. This is going to amplify
Yes.
our surroundings. We're going to be in pure chaos, as they say. But we have to, if we understand it, it won't affect us quite as bad.
It's because you understand why it has to happen, what is coming, why it's happening, and you prepare for it. Just like when you have a snowstorm coming in and you go, okay, I need to stock up on water. I need to stock up on food. I need to make sure we've got plenty of clothing and blankets.
And wood for the heat.
Wood,
yeah.
You know, those sort of things, so that we can ride this period of time out. And they're saying this is going to occur over the next 2 Earth years. And so,
or more, at least 2.
Yeah. And so we're giving you the heads up. We're sharing this information with you, not to instill fear, but to give you the opportunity to understand what's coming, why it's happening, and how to prepare. And that's the number one reason.
Yeah.
So we can ride this out. So this is the same meditation.
Going back to weather changes again worldwide. Here's another word that they use.
Preverbious.
Yeah, preverbious institutional changes. Preverbious is a very unusual word.
Mm-hmm.
So normalcy is changing. Cautionary behavior of the lands. And so we have to think about, what do they mean here? You know, cautionary behavior of the lands. Movement will take place within 2 years of your time.
Mm-hmm.
Cautionary function will be yours to decide. Now, does that mean the lands, as I saw it, the lands begin to move. The continents begin to move.
Yeah, and so let's dissect this a bit and figure out what these words mean and translate it for people. So if you've got a copy of these books, you know this language is heavy duty, and what we're trying to do in these exercises is teach people how to interpret this language and how to read the book. Okay. So when you go to preverbious, pre means before and verb means word. So we're talking about before the word. And when we talk about, this is what it reminds me of when you start connecting the dots, is that in old texts like the Bible, they talk about the word. The word is this, the mathematical codes that are coming from Creator that carry this vibration that carries the instructions for specific change.
Yeah, remember, we talked about mathematics is the language of the universe.
Right. And so this is before the word, and it's instituting, not institutional like we think of. I was, at first when I heard this, I was thinking, what do institutions have to do with this? No, it has nothing to do with that. It's instituting or creating this change.
Yeah.
Normalcy is changing. It's not going to be the normal that we recognize. And cautionary behavior of the lands, meaning caution to recognize that these lands are going to be changing, and we need to take precautions. The movement will take place within 2 years of your time. Lots of earth movement. We're talking about earthquakes, and we're talking about volcanic
Yeah, because
activity.
the next question was, which she asked, will there be an increase in earthquakes and volcanic activity in the next 2 years?
And so the answer was one of these words, fluboreous.
Yes.
Flu means the flow. So fluboreous to its own, it's going to flow in its own time. A degree of incidence will take place, many deaths of the humankind, and this is going to relate to these earth changes. And so
and that would be the changes of the land.
Yeah, and then to go back up to cautionary function will be yours to decide, is what are we going to do to take the precautions to make sure that we can ride out this period of time. So are we going to stock up on food? Are we going to stock up on seed and water? And we're talking about 2 years. So, you know, that's a whole lot of storage that a lot of people don't have.
You just know where to get water. Get
clean water.
Well, not get clean water, but get water that you can clean, boil, etc., and that you can drink. We all can go about 3 days without water. We can go maybe up to 60, 70 days without food.
So the other thing is, I just want to insert here is what we found on YouTube. You can find anything on YouTube, any instructional how-to on YouTube. And this was a homemade well and a pump that you can make out of PVC pipe, and you can plunk it, you can sink it down in the dirt.
And you can get the top layer of liquid.
Yeah, and in pretty much any area. But I advise you to go to YouTube. I don't remember the term that they used for that, that well. It's just a homemade well, but I found it very interesting. So just to wrap this up, you, after this meditation, you, and I was feeling like desperate, and you came out saying, I feel a sense of hope.
Yes, I did.
And so even though this was not a welcoming meditation or news, you felt a sense of hope.
Yes, there's going to be a change in humanity. And the sense of hope will be there for humanity to believe in. It's going to get very, very chaotic and misunderstood. But if you can hold on to somewhat hope and believe in changes for the good for Mother Nature, then things will work out. If you don't, then I don't know how to.
We have to prepare for this event. Yeah. That's all there is to it. And they're saying here the repercussions will be many. Those repercussions are going to be mostly due to humanity being unprepared.
Giving up, yeah.
But the end adventure, this is an interesting statement, the end adventure will be widespread learning, which I thought that's kind of interesting, the way that they worded that.
Because why are we here? To learn. We absolutely here to learn. If we do not learn, then there's no reason for us to even be here.
Yeah. So I would say, as far as preparations, seeds, we've been told, are going to be worth more than gold. So stock up on seeds, avoid the hybrids, which also are called F1, like F as in Frank, 1. Those are hybrids. They just don't, when you harvest your own seeds, and you need to do some research, learn how to harvest your own seeds from your foods. So if you're buying organic food, you can harvest your own seed and hopefully, you know, be able to plant and get the same quality or the same type of produce that you bought.
Again, you've got to do your own research on where to plant these seeds, how much sunlight they need, how much they do not need. You have to do your own research in order to survive the coming.
And water, you know, one plant may not like a whole lot of water where another will. So you have to know the differences It's a good time to even start to experiment with it. What will grow in your area? Some areas are more humid and plants don't particularly like that. So you can talk to local gardeners, your home gardeners, or at your garden centers and find out.
Yeah.
It's all about sharing of information. So do prepare, do get seeds, do stock up on non-perishable items, food items that are high nutrition density as much as possible, so that under periods of stress that you can still ensure that you're getting the nutrition that you need so that you don't get sick.
Okay, don't overwhelm yourself that you become frustrated. Take it each day and make a decision what you're going to research that particular day, and only do what you have the resources to do with.
There's
Okay.
lots of books and there's lots of information online.
And wherever you live, look what is edible within your area that is natural in that area. It grows naturally in the forest or wherever. There is a lot of edible plants and things
that you can forage.
that you can forage.
And so the one thing there's two things I want to actually bring up is that when you talk about dry food storage, you get the most bang for your buck out of legumes, out of dry beans, because one, you can take those beans and cook them immediately and have a meal out of them.
And
Secondly,
you can plant them, right?
Secondly, you can put them in a moist environment inside and produce sprouts. Sprouts.
Yeah.
Okay, and you can eat those sprouts as your greens.
Right.
And then thirdly, you can plant them and generate more beans.
And you're talking about sprouts. You don't need the sun. You can actually make a place like the Hopi do in their kivas, keep a fire going, and the beans will sprout from the heat from the fire.
Yeah, you don't need a fire necessarily, but you need a warm spot.
You need a warm spot, a continuously warm place. And then you can eat the bean sprouts, highly nutritional.
Yeah. And so the fresh fruits and vegetables is going to provide you your biggest bang for your buck when it comes to nutrition. White rice is going to last longer in storage than brown rice, and it's kind of contrary to the nutrition, because brown rice is more nutritious for you because of the bran around the outside of the rice. But it has a certain amount of oil content in it, and then that's what spoils. And so if you're going to have something sitting on a shelf for a long period of time, white rice would probably be what you want. If you have freezer space, throw your brown rice in the freezer. It'll last a lot longer.
Yeah. So with these little tidbits, we hope you kind of look and see what you really have around you. Remember, always look around you. Always look around your environment and see what's affecting your daily routine.
And also, it's good if you can get a hold of like food dehydrators. You can pick them up at garage sales or whatever. Learn how to can, those sort of things.
Learning
to preserve
how to can is more important.
Learning how to preserve food in the long term, also through fermentation and salting. All of those things are available online for free. You just have to take the time to do your research.
So with that, we hope you take some of this advice and use it before things get a whole lot worse and you won't be able to.
Time is of the essence.
Time is of the essence here.
And the other thing I want to add is that we have to unify in order to survive during these times. So we have to put aside our differences, and we have to come together and work together with a common goal, but also planning out how we're going to achieve that goal. So everybody's on the same page about the mechanics of how we're going to achieve it.
Now, respect one another, no matter who they are. Respect one another, and unity. If if we are going to survive as a race here on Earth, unity is the key for human survival. It may be close to be getting too late, but if we pull together and we start to unify in one common cause and the reason for being here and understand each other, then we will survive. Otherwise, we may perish as a race.
And keep in mind, when you talk about respect and unity, is that each person brings to the table their own unique understanding and base of knowledge and skills, so that when we work together, you know, one person is going to have an understanding of how to accomplish something. Another person may be good at doing it. And so when we bring all those skill sets together and that knowledge together, we can make things happen that we couldn't do if we were living alone and isolated.
Yeah, and sharing this information, sharing what little foods we have, but sharing with each other, which will all bring unity. So we hope you've had a good week, and we'll take some of these tips and put them to good use.
Thank you for joining us, and peace be with you on your journey to enlightenment. Have a good week.